Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hi, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today we're discussing Deep Space Nine, Season 6, Episode 4, Behind the Lines. The female changeling distracts Odo during the Resistance's attempt to prevent the minefield from being removed, and Sisko is promoted from command of the Defiant.
Right before he got promoted, I was thinking, there's no way Sisko would enjoy what is essentially a desk job if he were promoted. And then it happened, and then he looked at the Defiant departing wistfully.
He likes to be in the thick of it. He's not a desk job kind of guy.
No, not at all. It doesn't allow him to live out his psychopathic fantasies.
Yeah. Of course. He likes to pull the strings, but he wants to be the one pulling them directly, not being a puppet master from the back. It's kind of strange they promoted him off from being the captain of the Defiant after they gave them the mission.
Right, that is strange. It made me think of the previous episode where they gave him a desk and then said, no, wait, you're doing this mission.
I just thought it was odd that they started working on the mission, as in training and all that, and then they swapped the roster around. That doesn't seem like it would be good for troop synergy.
Well, if he were an inept leader, I could see that being helpful. But pulling him just to promote him is strange.
I think the guy did say it was a reactionary promotion because the person who was doing that was promoted elsewhere.
It's not a typical mission, though. You would think they would want to keep things together as much as they could. It's dangerous and not an ordinary mission.
Dax went on the mission and did it really well. So Dax was really useful. We just didn't get to see it.
If she's useful, it must be off screen.
Well, she's rarely useful on screen, so that kind of follows, I guess.
There are so many lines in this episode that made me think she would die on the mission.
I've been thinking about your Dax will die before marrying Worf theory, and yep. I can see now why you predicted that. I'm not saying whether or not it happens. The writing is on the wall.
It's all over the place now. When Sisko says, oh, she won't miss her own wedding to Worf or something like that. Or when he says he's getting a good look at the Defiant and she says, I hope not for the last time. She ended up coming back, but there's so much loaded language of Dax might die.
You're just paranoid. Any one of them could die, apart from O'Brien.
Odo can't really die. He's a drop in the ocean.
Oh, he can die. We've seen Mirror Odo die horribly.
That's just one drop evaporating.
So, yes, the A-plot. Kira was stepping up the Resistance, first with an incredibly obvious plan about leaving Damar's blog for the Jem'Hadar to find.
Why can the Jem'Hadar read?
Well, presumably they have to read to be able to fly their ships and stuff.
All right, I'll take that.
But why can they read Cardassian?
Universal translator with text.
Why did they just find it on the ground outside their quarters and say, "Oh, what's this? Oh, it's Damar's blog. He wants to poison us." Then run in and just start murdering Cardassians.
They're trained for battle. That's all they know.
It just seems like this plan was overly stupid. Just leaving it on the floor outside their quarters. Why do they even have quarters? They don't sleep or anything.
To take shifts occupying seats in Quark's bar.
Yes, that is the Dominion occupation. I liked that they had a bar fight between the Jem'Hadar and the Cardassians, both of whom are pretty kind of tough guys, especially the Jem'Hadar. And then afterwards, there's just bodies everywhere. If it was the Federation and the Klingons having a bar fight, there would have been a couple stabbings or whatever, but everyone would have gone home. But not these guys, they just start murdering.
And there were several bodies too. It wasn't one or two. There were a handful, at least, that we saw.
We saw a Cardassian get his spine broken in half. When Odo suggested clearing the bar, it takes a millisecond for Weyoun to agree with him.
Weyoun's extreme deference for changelings still cracks me up. I love the language he uses around them. Around the female changeling, he ended it by saying, "We've imposed our presence on you long enough." It's so funny to me.
He can't look them in the eye either. He's always deferring his vision.
Look up for a second. Okay, back to the floor.
Weyoun is a fun character. He's not a good guy or anything, but he makes the show really interesting because you don't know what the hell he's doing.
I want him to be talking to Odo with his head bowed because Odo's a changeling, and then Odo walks off and then he doesn't notice and he's still talking and babbling.
As if he wouldn't be acutely aware of what a changeling were doing.
Yeah, he bows his head, but he won't close his eyes.
Odo got a girlfriend?
Or a hookup lady.
She's filling his head with rubbish and keeping him keen.
She's allowing him to find clarity so that he can realize he's a terrible person.
Kira's right. She's no good for him.
For her interests.
Well, yeah, okay, there's the whole philosophy of self going on, but past Odo was better than Happy Pills Odo.
I am really curious where they go from here because this could be a pivot point for Odo. And because I've been conditioned by past seasons and episodes, my guess is he'll realize what's happening. Oh, I'm being manipulated. This isn't great. I'll go back to being Odo, the Odo I know or knew. But he could potentially take this path and wash his hands of solids and take on this philosophy of I need to be with the Great Link and nothing else matters. It's there in him, but whether or not he'll take it remains to be seen.
His opinion of the Great Link certainly changed quite drastically in this episode. He didn't really care at the start, but now he's got a little bit wet from it. He wants more.
You say he didn't care about the Great Link in the beginning, but I think that's him guarding how he really feels. Way back in some season, he admitted to having a desire to return. He admitted that he wanted to return to the Great Link.
Well, the end of this episode, he was 100% Link happy.
Yes, he was high on linking.
So I guess the question is, if he does return to past Odo, how will his opinion of linking up change? Or will it change?
He'll discover self-linking.
That's disgusting. But probably, yeah, that's what most teenagers do.
But if they're all drops from the ocean, right, then he could split himself into two and then link with the splitting. I don't see why he can't split his entity, that he has to be that much goo.
That is a very good point. Oh, okay. You just broke my brain. So the female changeling implied that there was just one giant shapeshifter sort of consciousness, and little shapeshifters break off it. But then why don't those ones share that same property? So maybe she was just talking rubbish. Maybe there really is just a population of them.
That's true. We can't take everything she says as absolute truth. It changed how I think of the changelings, though, when she brought up that ocean metaphor.
Yeah, as if they're more like clay that can split apart and be molded and then joined back together. Or goo. But then again, I don't think she would just be lying. There must be some element of truth to what she's saying. Because I don't think she has a history of telling the truth, or at least her perspective of the truth.
Also, in this very episode, she notes the failure of words to properly convey meaning. So maybe the ocean thing is the best thing she can do without linking and imparting her knowledge to Odo that way.
So maybe the goo is quantized into single shapeshifter-sized chunks, but the consciousness blends.
I could buy that.
The way she was pressing him for link up time was a little bit creepy.
She was in the middle of a drought.
But they linked up that morning. How? God, she must really want to link.
The more she links with Odo, the greater chances she has to win him over and bring him back to the Great Link.
True, it's just creepy to see someone pressure someone else into doing things with their body. Even if it's their gooey liquid body.
Odo seems to enjoy himself.
That's not the point.
What a huge risk that was for Odo to do that when he's hatching secret plans on Terek Nor.
Well, clearly because Rom got caught.
Oh, that's because he was distracted, but he's not an experienced linker. He doesn't know how to shield his thoughts properly, maybe, I don't know. But he's part of this secret resistance, and she could find out, and that would ruin everything.
I loved his brazen confidence. Oh, don't worry, I've got it, and maybe I can convince her it's all okay. Kira's just like, oh, are you an idiot?
I didn't understand where that was coming from, why he would ever think that.
Because he's just linked for the first time, and now he thinks he's the best linker ever.
Again, I see this as another possible pivot point for the relationship between Odo and Kira. And I could see this event creating a permanent rift between them. Or he could redeem himself and it'll be fine. But the potential's there. It just depends what they do with it.
Well, yeah, if Rom's locked up, how long is he going to hold out? Oh, actually, maybe ages. He helped O'Brien before and didn't say a word in the assignment. So maybe he's not going to spill the beans. But then again, Cardassian interrogation techniques tend to be fairly brutal.
I don't see Cardassians holding back at all.
Oh, well, no, they've got a saboteur. They're going to find out who the other saboteurs are.
I was really worried for Rom when he tripped that alarm. I knew he would be caught and things would go badly after.
Oh, it's a shame. He's so nice. For Ferengi. But he does have a very childlike quality about him.
Yes, there's an innocence there. It was adorable when he chowed down on some fruit while he waited.
That was such a good little touch. It's episode 4 and they're still nowhere near getting the space station back.
Which is awesome, but also confusing because this show is called Deep Space Nine and there is no Deep Space Nine.
It's good because if it just goes back and forth in 1 or 2 episodes, that's no fun.
No, that would be awful, and I would have hated it if they had done that.
Well, I don't know if you'd have hated it, but it would have been ultimately disappointing.
It would have been disappointing and would undermine the abilities of the Jem'Hadar, the Cardassians, the Dominion. It would fall apart internally.
Do you want to revise your estimate for when they're going to retake the station?
I hope they don't take it back until mid-season now.
It certainly seems like they're very far from getting it at this point. They've basically been pushed back for the entire the first 4 episodes. The Federation's just been losing ground, more or less. Apart from Cisco, he's the only guy that's been winning.
But not in his mind. He's losing in his head.
That's because the only victory for Cisco is one he clutches with his literal hands. If he doesn't end up with his fists covered in blood, it's not really a victory for him.
Those are the terms. There must be blood on my hands. Otherwise, I have not won.
Do you have any words of solidarity to bring us through this dark and difficult time?
Oh, I guess I don't. Whoops.
Oh. You could always pick the drop becomes the ocean becomes the drop.
We talked about it extensively, though.
Well, that's true.
To become a thing is to know a thing.
You've used that one before, haven't you?
Oh, have I?
Yeah, it's what... Oh, I don't know if you chose it, but that is a line from a previous episode.
When he visits, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Cadet, by the time you took command, there'd be nobody left to call you anything.
He could refer to himself as captain.
Oh, burn.
What?
He thinks so lowly of Ferengi, he doesn't think of him as a person, so it would be as if nobody is calling him captain.
He could hail another vessel and say, "Hey, it's Captain Noak here."
Well, I think he's assuming if he's the captain of a vessel, there are no other vessels left.
Oh, not just on that vessel. That's it for the Federation.
Yeah.
I really liked what O'Brien said about the naval tradition of the person in command being captain, regardless of rank, because I didn't know that. And it's little things like that that add a sort of reality to the show. This is what he says to cause Nog to realize he might be able to be called captain before O'Brien just disses him.
Before that could happen, the most bleak scenario possible would have to occur.
Well, don't blame O'Brien for imagining incredibly bleak scenarios.
That's all he can think in.
Yeah, that's like pocket change to him.
That's his default mode, bleak scenarios.
Well, at this stage, yeah. But I did like the little naval tradition. I like it when they include little bits like that and their little ritual with the power cells. You don't just throw this away, because that's littering. The A and B plots in this episode were quite nicely matched. The B plot was sort of poignant, and the A plot was really tense.
And they both fall under this umbrella of the war, this ongoing event. It doesn't feel like we're standing still with nonsense plots. These are plots with some weight to them.
Yeah, it's not a Jake break. Oh dang, Jake's in the resistance cell. That's something to think about. Anyway, we should move on to the next episode.
Yes, we should.
Let's do it.
Okay.